Restaurant Unstoppable. What the most successful restaurateurs know that you don't.
Well, my ideal situation is kind of where I'm at, is that I am aligned with my major client, and really my major focus is the Fabio Viviani Hospitality Group. And the joyous nature of that is that I can walk in and go, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I have enough strength around me of people that are just absolute killers that can go, we can get you there. And it's the old Henry Ford model that says surround yourself with your weaknesses, and then that's how you grow strength. But so many people say that they do that, but the few people that actually do it succeed because they're able to acknowledge weakness.
Self-awareness.
Oh, I mean, people are so afraid to ask for help and say, I don't know. So years ago, when I started working with this, with the Viviani group, there were things that I'm like, I don't have a clue. Again,
So
and then I began
we
to
are
kind of
leaving out
develop them.
Dynamic.
Yes,
Director of operations.
I was exactly for years. That's how I met Fabio.
Yeah.
All right.
So, we said we're talking about your ideal situation now, where you have the support of your main client, the Fabio Group.
Sure.
Fabio, what's his name?
Fabio Viviani.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the name of his restaurant group?
Oh, it's Fabio Viviani Hospitality.
Okay. How many restaurants are there right now?
30 plus.
Okay. So how did Dynamic get you on the radar of Fabio Viviani?
So Dynamic Hospitality actually partners with Fabio. So a lot of what Fabio does is he partners with existing restaurant groups so that they already have the infrastructure, they have the social media and the communication and all the inroads to where he brings his aspect into that.
What is his
and
aspect?
Well, his aspect, like for example, here in Chicago, was two guys that had exceptionally successful and awesome nightclub-driven things and wanted to pivot to more of a restaurant. And so they partnered with Fabio, and then they opened that, and it became... Sienna Tavern is one of the most massively successful places in Chicago. When I tell people I'm with Fabio, one of the first questions I get, and I'm talking about being in the back of a taxi, is someone will look at me and go, can you get me a reservation there? It's just that level of, oh my God, what an amazing place. And so they built an empire here. I was fortunate enough to be a part of that when I returned back to Chicago, to be a part of the building of what is Prime Provisions, which is their 5-star fine dining steakhouse. And then that's where I really got to work with Fabio. And then I was the director of operations for that company for years. And so then when I started my own company, after I had a couple clients, Fabio and I reconnected, and that's kind of how we started building the things that we are together. But Dynamic itself is such an incredibly successful company here in Chicago that being able to come from it and be a part of it was just an amazing opportunity.
Yeah. So we're pretty much at real time right now as far as the chronological journey goes through the interview, correct?
We are almost to now.
Okay. So now is Korgen Hospitality. So you're teaching all these lessons you've accrued over your going back to, what was the first date I have on here? 1995. So we're looking at, you weren't in the, if you're going to count Chuck E. Cheese.
Well, you count Chuck E. Cheese. We're at 1988 if you're counting Chuck E. Cheese.
So we'll say like 25 years, give or take a year or two of experience compiled into Korgen Hospitality.
Sure.
What is your focus with Korgen Hospitality?
So the term consultant is the biggest pejorative in the industry. Everybody I know that has a gap in their resume always writes that they were a consultant in the middle. And consultants, by and large, just walk into a place and go, okay, that's wrong, and that's bad, and this is bad. Give me a check, and then they leave.
Yeah.
And there's no real benefit to what they do. And you can ask most major restaurants, and they'll tell you that if they've used a consultant, that they're not totally excited about what they were doing, and that the results weren't at all worth what they paid.
Transactional.
It is transactional, and it's an alarm. It's exactly what
you're paying for perspective.
You're paying for somebody to just go, that's wrong.
Yeah.
But so when we started Korgen, I kind of flipped it on its head and said, okay, so we're going to first create a business model that we're going to sit down and have a conversation and figure out what your challenge is. And then I'm going to spend a day in your venue. And I'm going to tell you, okay, what I see. And I'm going to give you an entire list of all the things that if this were my restaurant, these are the things that I would do. And then I'm going to tell you exactly how to do those things yourself. And if you have the capacity to do that, God love you. Because at the end of the day, if I help a restaurant and I make zero money, but I help a restaurant because I gave them a direction and they got better, I feel better about that's my love to the industry. If they don't have the bandwidth to do the things that I have suggested, that's where I come in. And I give them a list, much like a menu, to where they can go through and say, I want to do this and this and this and not that and this and this and not that. And then we pick through those things and go from there. But they're measurable. The number of times I've had people come to me and say, oh, I totally want to make my service better. Okay, great. How are you measuring that? Is that based on Yelp reviews? Is it based on secret shopper reports? What is it that...
You got to track it.
Yeah, exactly.
You need some system to track progress. You don't know if you're doing better or worse unless you compare yourself to a later version of yourself.
Correct. So I can't charge you for better service. I can show you the 15 paths from training to development to coaching that will improve that, but I can't guarantee that your level of service is
or your level of discipline to commit to what I'm telling you to do is going to be there as soon as I walk out the door.
Which is so huge because you run into restaurants that have functioned in a certain way. It's so surprising to me the number of places that I've gone to where they don't do inventory, or they use jobbers to where
they do inventory, but it's once a month.
Exactly, and you're like, okay, you're missing so much money on the tape, but that's just who they are. And I explain the logic of why they shouldn't do that, but nothing changes and nothing develops. And that's been the hardest thing for me to understand in picking clients is people who are truly willing to change. Because if you've been doing the same thing for 20 years, I can tell you how you're going to make more money and be better. But if you're not willing to re-examine that and fundamentally change how you're doing what you're doing,
execute,
you are going to continue to not be maximized.
It's not about what you know, it's about can you execute what you know.
I agree.
And that's the hard part. Yeah. So it sounds like what you're getting with what you provide, your services, Korgen Hospitality, is not just here's what's wrong, but I'm going to stick around a little while to show you, to make sure you can execute.
Sure. And at the end, we sit down and we say, are we good?
Yeah.
Do you and I agree? Is this what we've created and we're okay with that?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's just another person that's telling you what's wrong with no real response.